I'm delighted to welcome you to the Sourcing and Recruiting Automation course. Today's first lesson covers the general logic of sourcing automation. Why do we need to learn how to automate sourcing and recruiting? After the course, you'll be able to fill positions even faster than before. This always has a positive impact on income. If you're a recruiter, you'll be able to earn more by filling more positions. If you're a recruiting manager, you'll become a more effective leader because your recruiters will fill positions faster. Clients will be more satisfied and management will be happier, whether it's the human resources director or the chief executive officer, which is also a good thing. This is what our course website looks like. I'll tell you a bit about myself and my experience in the context of today's lesson so we can get to know each other. My name is Mike Pritula. I started working at Alpha Bank as a recruiter and trainer, filling positions independently. Unfortunately, back then, there weren't really any automation tools to speak of. We tried to implement the Lotus Note-based apricot tracking system, but it was so slow and cumbersome that recruiters immediately got the impression that it would slow down their work rather than speed it up. On the positive side, we did have automated staff requisition forms. As for actually using something automated, I utilized it while working at the CTV channel. Back then, there was a popular system called eStaff Recruiter. I implemented it, and it saved recruiters a lot of time on preparing reports. Plus, we used the system to send emails to our resume database. We integrated all the resumes the company had received over many years into this database, and then we could send out mass emails. In the gaming industry, I worked as a business partner, although I was also involved in recruiting. By the way, they also used eStaff Recruiter there. At PricewaterhouseCoopers, I fully utilized various automation tools, different sourcing automation tools, eStaff Recruiter, mass mailings, plugins, and so on. That's the kind of experience I have. I consulted on the PeopleForce system and founded the Pritula Academy and the Papa HR product. Throughout my career, I've received many different awards, so you understand that there's something to be proud of and achievements to share. And this is an achievement of the Academy. In my work, I rely on best practices, and in this course, I'll be happy to share both my personal experience and the best practices from around the world. Well then, let's get started. I would be grateful if those watching this video on YouTube could write in the comments what your job title is and who you work with. I am really curious to know who is listening to a webinar about sourcing automation. And I will tell you about the homework. In all our courses, including this one, we have homework assignments. I check them and provide feedback. For successful completion of homework assignments, we issue our Academy diploma. So it is worth putting in the effort. We issue the diploma on the Accredible platform. It is a great online platform. This format is used by all such educational organizations. Moving on. Our course consists of 6 sessions. Today, we are discussing what sourcing and recruiting automation is in general. In the second session, we will start examining the first tools, specifically the tools for scraping and parsing profiles. In the third session, we will explore tools for contacting candidates. In the fourth, we will discuss what bookmarklets are and other useful tools. In the fifth, we will talk about which automation, recruiting, and sourcing tools fall under the category of tracking systems. Work best. We will examine the most advanced ones that already incorporate artificial intelligence. And in the sixth session, we will look at tools for automatic candidate assessment. Here too, we will include those that use artificial intelligence. That is the plan for this course. In general, we will cover all the main stages of sourcing and recruiting that can be automated. Today, let us discuss why this is even necessary, what tools are available in general, and what problems they solve. You have already seen words like scraping and parsing. We will figure out what these mean. And what automation means, for example, the automation of sourcing. All right, let us get started, friends. Let us start with this. What is sourcing? Sourcing is about searching. It is when we do not just sit and wait for candidates to respond, but when we actively search for them ourselves. It's also called proactive search, active search, or direct candidate search, and working with passive candidates. That's what sourcing is all about. At the same time, sourcing is often about finding information that isn't readily available on the surface. It's not just about going to a website, selecting a couple of filters, typing in a job title, and looking at resumes. It's a bit more than that. It's often about using search tools that most recruiters unfortunately aren't using yet. And it's the cheapest and fastest way to fill a vacancy. Because when you're waiting for candidates to send you resumes, you might be waiting for a long time. If your company isn't, super famous, not international, then you might not receive a huge number of resumes, and this will be bad for you too because you'll be choosing from just 2 or 3 candidates. If the company is some well-known, huge international one, you might get a lot of candidates, but they might be far from the most relevant ones. That's why sourcing is a tool for both small and large companies, basically for any company. Sourcing itself consists of 3 steps. The first is searching for candidates, using X-ray and Boolean search techniques, profile names possibly. Then, the second step is finding contacts, and sourcing is often not about searching one by one, but rather a mass search. So we're not looking for just one name, we're looking for multiple candidates. We're looking for several contacts, and then we contact several of them. For example, when I worked at Ideal, I was building a sourcing system. Unlike Preply, where I worked before, people were already starting to hear about them a bit. Some articles had already been published. They had appeared at several stages. At least, even if it wasn't the most famous company, it was recognizable and easily found on the internet. But when I worked at Ideal, it wasn't even close to that because there were no publications. The company hadn't presented anywhere, nobody knew about it. Moreover, when I came to work there, they had moved into a new, beautiful office just 6 months before my arrival. Before that, they were simply working in rented apartments. And hiring people for this company was difficult, because people didn't understand what it was, how it worked. There were almost no responses to job postings, and sourcing helped. Thanks to sourcing, we independently found 2,300 candidates for each vacancy. And these weren't just any candidates. These were pre-screened candidates who fit certain parameters we were looking for. We did a mass mailing of letters offering to consider our vacancy, and among those who were interested, we then entered into negotiations, conducted interviews, and finally selected the finalist. And this helped us hire people for any positions. Why do we need sourcing automation specifically? Like with any automation, it's about saving time. For example, you wash clothes at home in a washing machine. A washing machine is the automation of laundry. You can wash your clothes by hand, which will take you a couple of hours, or you can throw them in the washing machine, which will take 2 minutes. Why do you need a robot vacuum cleaner? That's automation too. You can go around and vacuum yourself, or you can start the robot. Dishwasher, same story. And there are many such things. So when automation is available, doing many things manually starts to seem strange. That is, for example, washing clothes by hand, washing dishes by hand, driving a car with a manual transmission. Doing all these things now looks a bit strange because why waste your time when there's automation available? The same goes for sourcing. Automation. Sourcing is about saving time and finding candidates. And that means you can find more candidates faster. For example, at our company Ideal, the norm was to find about 100 candidates in one day that we could message. So these aren't just any candidates. If we're looking at a business analyst position, a recruiter finds 100 relevant business analyst profiles in a day. For example, on LinkedIn or other resources, finds their contacts, prepares a mailing, and these people receive a series of emails. We usually prepared 4 or 5 emails for this. Some of them start responding immediately, but within a week we get some kind of reaction from everyone. For these, we don't find just 100 per vacancy, but usually allocate 300 per vacancy. Of those, about 30 convert into interviews, and then we end up with 1 finalist. Plus, it saves time in finding contacts. Sourcing involves various tools for finding contacts, and automation does this on a massive scale. Plus, of course, contacting candidates. Writing to each candidate individually would take a lot of time. Writing to people en masse is much faster. For example, at the Academy, I regularly send out newsletters via LinkedIn about our training sessions. I send out 3,400 messages daily through my network of contacts. I have 3,000 contacts. But imagine if I did this manually. I would probably only send about 10 messages a day. But as it is, I am teaching a class right now. I have a message broadcast running in the background, going through my LinkedIn. Yeah, I do not want to split the screen right now because it will mess up the screen proportions and the video will not look good. Anyway, I will show this later in the background, and the message sending process is ongoing. And this is the selection of the most suitable candidates. Consequently, less time equals higher quality candidates, lower cost per hire, and increased brand awareness. In fact, people react positively when they see that recruiting teams are using these kind of technological tools for searching and contacting. They are surprised, they find it so cool. It is so interesting to work with you. You have got these things, these tools are great. What is important? Automation does not mean that if you have taken any plugin or service, you have already automated. No, these are specialized tools. They are a bit different. As a rule, they are for mass operations. If, for example, a plugin opens a contact on a LinkedIn page, I do not know if there are any plugins that can open contacts en masse. I think there is one called Search or something like that. This is not full automation yet. And if a service allows you to find all of a person's contacts like Catfish, That's also not complete automation. Some Telegram bots, that's not automation either. Because in automation, we're always dealing with bulk processing of contacts and profiles in lists. That is, there are many mass actions involved. Everything speeds up significantly, not just by a little bit. That's the story. What automation tools are available? There are separate solutions that now work based on artificial intelligence as well. So I'll show this too. You upload a job vacancy. Artificial intelligence analyzes it. It creates search filters on its own. These tools can have their own candidate databases, select the best candidates themselves, and even evaluate how well each candidate fits. There are many Google Chrome plugins that do all sorts of things too, and it can be JavaScript that runs in any browser. It's very advanced but also quite interesting, and it's useful to know about it too. What tasks does automation solve? Collecting all kinds of lists. For example, from Google search results or LinkedIn search results, automation allows you to do this. So you don't need to manually transfer people one by one into a spreadsheet. Enriching the list with contact information, sending out emails, and collecting statuses. These are the three key tasks that recruiting sourcing automation tools solve, and it's also where the most time is spent. Spinning. When you hear about sourcing or recruiting automation, you might recognize these words. Let's break it down. So, scraping. Scraping refers to collecting any lists from web pages in order to process them later in some way. For example, extracting a list of candidates to find their contact information later. But it's not just in recruiting. I use scraping simply to generate lists of any kind, when I need to convert a list of something into some kind of table, or just to export a file. Now we often have to export data to artificial intelligence and give it to them for analysis. So this scraping tool is used far beyond HR. For example, one of the cool recent cases was when I was looking for a camera, decided to go back to when people used to take pictures with cameras. Nowadays, phones take good pictures, but I wanted to go back to the time when we used to take pictures with cameras, plan things, and so on. There are many of these cameras. I hadn't been keeping track of them. I am not an expert on them. What did I do? I used Instant Data Scraper to collect all the search results on OLX. So I extracted 1,000 listings using scraping, sent them to the GPT chat with the names of cameras, and told it. Although I think the GPT chat didn't handle it well, I also sent it to Google Studio, which processed it better. And I said, give me the best options in terms of price and quality from this large list, and give me links to the listings because there were links. It gave me the results and it was great. So scraping helped me here. So these skills can even help you outside of recruiting. Now parsing is a bit different. It is collecting detailed information from candidate profiles for further analysis. So you end up having a copy of the candidate's profile somewhere in your system. This is what many applicant tracking systems do, for example. For instance, you want to have the candidate's full resume in your system, not just their job title and name, but you also want their LinkedIn profile to download into your system so that various internal searches within your system would work. This is parsing. For example, People Prospector, a plugin from PeopleForce, allows you to parse candidate profiles into the ATS system. And Outreach. Outreach is the process of contacting candidates. There are many terms for it. They might call it a drip campaign. It could be some kind of email chain, a sequence of messages, and so on. This is also actively used in sourcing and recruiting automation. The idea is that we process candidates in bulk all at once, because we have two options. I even used a video image in our chat that essentially shows two recruiters, if you have seen it. One recruiter does things manually, like sorting through resumes, while the other recruiter uses tools. So this is what the use of Outreach allows. Let's use the company IDL as an example. We had various job openings: developer, tester, product manager, analyst, sales operations director. What do we do to fill a vacancy? For this vacancy, for example, there are several thousand suitable candidate profiles on LinkedIn. We collect lists, we use keywords to generate search results, and see that we have 2,300 candidates. We export a list of names, use a plugin to find their contacts, and prepare a mailing. We used Lever ATS to send it to all these 300 people. We send different letters, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, with slightly different text. And that's it. We did this quite quickly, launched the mailing. It all takes 2 to 3 days. Then we just sit and wait for people to respond. They say things like, thanks, I'm interested, or tell me more details, or I'm not looking right now. And based on people's responses, the recruiter manually writes something and processes it. This way, we quickly get responses, quickly find interested people, and quickly schedule interviews. What tools are available now? Today, let's say, we'll give an overview of the possibilities and what could be. We're going to visit the website of one of the systems. I'll show you roughly how it can work. And later in the course, we'll examine things in more detail. Well, here's an example, Joe. I'm sure the Gen system isn't well known because I've probably never come across any mention of it anywhere. Unless you chat with GPT, ChatGPT might tell you about it because it might know. This system here is Jobin Cloud. The system for working with candidates is an ATS, applicant tracking system. That means you can maintain a database of job openings and a database of candidates. It initially came with a good set of tools for automating sourcing and recruiting. For example, it allowed you to synchronize all your internal profiles in the database with the current information of these candidates on LinkedIn. It utilized what was artificial intelligence management. It allowed you to find people's contact information. For example, you found profiles on LinkedIn. People haven't added you yet, and until they do, friends, you can't see their names and contacts. And this system enriched profiles with contact information. Now artificial intelligence has also appeared here. They even have AI and automation tool written in the headline. There you have it. They have really cool videos. These guys are really putting in the effort. As for the downsides, I can say right away that the interface might be a bit unfamiliar because there are so many functions. It's not what we're used to graphically. There's a lot of text, small buttons, and settings here. Nevertheless, the platform is advanced. They have these short videos, and I think somewhere here we'll find a review, about half an hour long, showing what the system looks like. Interestingly, they have... Here's the demo. No, this one's short. We need to look for it. They might have a longer one on their channel. And they have a free option that allows you to test and see a lot of things. ChatGPT is already being integrated, meaning ChatGPT can help generate text personalized for candidates and many other things. That's the kind of system it is. This is what I call a comprehensive automation system. LinkedIn support, ATS, contact search, people search, ChatGPT integration. By the way, for some reason they didn't describe ChatGPT in much detail. And the packages are comprehensive. I recommend you take a look to understand what automation is. Let's move on. Now about artificial intelligence. Initially, automation was without artificial intelligence, just some tools that save time. Artificial intelligence allows for even greater savings, achieving more and improving work. What can artificial intelligence give us overall? Prepare job descriptions. Source candidates, communicate with candidates, and provide answers to questions. Perform initial screening. Even then, conduct subsequent assessments, interviews, or some code reviews, formulate offers, and assist with onboarding. So, in general, artificial intelligence is not just simple text. It can now cover a large number of processes in recruiting and sourcing, systems that offer artificial intelligence in recruiting. Similar to the previous slide, there are already many systems offering artificial intelligence, and they continue to grow. I mean, I constantly come across mentions somewhere that some system has implemented something. Interestingly, when ChatGPT appeared a couple of years ago, nothing happened for a long time. I really started to worry. Why? Well, a year has passed. A year and a half has passed, and many systems aren't implementing anything. But they were apparently, I don't know, preparing, making decisions, doing something else. Because then, about 2 years later, it was like mushrooms after the rain. Suddenly a lot of things started appearing. Oh great, finally. I was starting to worry that for some reason they weren't seeing the opportunities that artificial intelligence offers. There's a lot now. In the course, we'll be looking at specific use cases. This is just to help you understand that these are not isolated solutions. Like what, for example? Today, just a few screenshots. What, for example, can artificial intelligence help with? It can select the most suitable candidates. For instance, from your database, showing you candidate ratings using stars, circles, percentages, or something else. Some systems have external databases, meaning they can select candidates for you from the system's own database. Thanks to artificial intelligence, it can explain why a particular candidate is a good fit, which criteria they meet, and where they might have some shortcomings, where they might fall short. It can search its own database. In some cases, you can clearly see what kind of system it is. I think I didn't include that here. They didn't specify what system it was, so I didn't add the logo. Here you can clearly see that it's a mono AI. Here you can see the percentages show the match, and they highlight which skills correspond to the job opening. Or some systems allow you to simply upload profiles, like for matching. You upload the job opening, upload the profiles, and the system evaluates the profiles you've uploaded. That's also convenient. Providing a report to the hiring manager upon request, for example, Beam. Maybe, like how many chat systems work now, hiring managers can log in and see ready-made questions they can ask. They can simply click on a question or type their own text. And the system responds, showing them something. So it essentially presents the current status and report on behalf of the recruiter. creating text for job postings, but this is now built into many systems. So you don't necessarily have to use ChatGPT. Sometimes right in the system itself, you can create an attractive job posting, maybe even using a template. This is also convenient and saves time. Some systems can improve the job posting text, highlight what might not work well for you, and suggest what's worth improving. Creating tests for developers and various professions, since hiring developers is quite an expensive process, and they're hired in large numbers. Plus, developers create these products. So most candidate assessment solutions appeared primarily for evaluating developers themselves. But now they're slowly starting to appear for other professions, including various types of tests, simulators, dialogue-based assessments, all kinds of training tools, and so on. Easy resume parsing, also thanks to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence doesn't just extract information, it analyzes it. This word is about an achievement. Oh, and this word is a skill. And this word, or for example, this experience can be recorded as experience in product management. And this experience here is experience in the pharmaceutical industry. So it analyzes the resume and organizes it more intelligently, entering it into your database. Candidate profile evaluation, there are systems here where I've put some links. So you can, for example, see a person on LinkedIn or import a list from LinkedIn, and the system will tell you whether these LinkedIn profiles are suitable for your job opening or not. Also for evaluation, there's the LinkedIn profile and an assessment of how suitable the person is. There might be a chatbot that communicates with the candidate. It can answer some simple questions, especially if you're hiring in bulk, which can be a great relief for you. And here's another example. A chatbot that pops up on the career site and answers questions, can process resumes and so on. Also a good automation tool. And many more different things. Here, I'm providing a link to another system on YouTube where you can look at the capabilities of artificial intelligence in automating sourcing and recruiting. Homework for those already taking the course. Automation is possible where there are tasks for it, so I'll ask you to do this independently. You personally to formulate your tasks for automation, specifically what you would like to automate, what your processes are. Describe 3 to 5 of your processes there. What's next? Next, we'll go through various tools, see how they work and what tasks they solve. So basically, all the subsequent sessions are an overview of different tools. That's all for today. I invite you to join the course if you're not with us yet. I'm looking forward to the homework from those already in the course. See you soon, friends. Bye-bye.